What's going on, guys? This is going to be my simple review on the Fuji XPRO1. Alright, so let's start off. This is the Fuji XPRO1. Mounted on it, I have the 35 f2 WR, which stands for weather resistance. This is not the lens hood that came with it. This is the lens hood I got on eBay. It's a vented lens hood, so it gives it more of a rangefinder look. And it does not come with this leather case. This leather case is separate, but this is the official Fujifilm leather case. I got it at B&H on sale. Another thing that does not come with the camera is this hot shoe cover and this shutter release button, soft shutter release button. These I got separate. I'll put the link down below on where I got them. Alright, so and strap, I got this on Amazon. Alright, so getting straight into the camera, I really enjoy this camera because it is very small, very compact, and it provides image quality that I get from, let's say, shooting with my 5D Mark III or shooting with something full frame. This is a crop sensor. This is a 1.5 CMOS crop sensor. That means you have to magnify the lens by 1.5. So technically this 35 is about 53 millimeters, which is my ideal focal length because I mainly do portraits and occasionally I would go out and shoot some street photography, and I think that's the perfect focal length. So I think this camera is suited for people who are at a slower pace of shooting. You do not buy this if you want to shoot sports. You don't buy this if you want to sort of shoot any type of moving action, anything coming towards your way. This is more for, I would definitely say it's good for weddings. This is the XPRO1. The XPRO2 would be ideal for weddings because of its focusing system, but this still gets the job done. It's good for engagement sessions, it's good for portraits, it's good for candids, it's good for street. It's good for stuff like that, which pretty much covers the range of what people are doing. You know, there's not too many sports photographers aiming to get something small. Usually you'll see them with a 1DX or a D5 or something heavy, something big, because that's the camera that's suited for that job. This is not for that. This is for sort of a dad, mom at home that wants to capture their kids' moments, or it could be suited for a street photographer that wants to blend in and not have a huge DSLR, somebody that could just sort of walk through people and not be noticed because it's a black camera. It looks like a film camera. Nobody's gonna look at it and be like, whoa, look at this guy, he has an expensive camera and he might take my picture. You know, you could easily shoot from the hip. And with the live view system that's on this, it's perfect. It's definitely good for shooting from the hip because you could move the focal points easily on it. What else can I say about this camera? So I've had it for about, I'd say 3 years. When I first got it, I got the 35-1.4, which is a great lens. The only reason I still don't have the 35-1.4 is because I sold it and I got the 35 f2, which I would recommend because it's quieter. And between f2 and f1.4, it's not really a jump that I need because I could easily shoot this camera at 3200, ISO 4000, anywhere around there, and I'm completely comfortable. So needing the 1.4 isn't a must. I will show some sample images of color photographs and black and white, but in my personal opinion, I strictly shoot this black and white just because that's my preference. And when it comes to color, I occasionally tend to aim towards using my DSLR, or I mean, I do shoot this with color, but I would definitely prefer shooting this black and white, and that's just my opinion. It's not that the color on it sucks, it's just that that's just the way I do things. I like black and white. I prefer black and white. So whenever I usually shoot color is either if there's something vibrant in the frame that I want to catch, or when I shoot engagement photos and portraits, I usually aim for color. But I don't use this for my professional work. I use this for me, for myself. I use this when I go out, when I'm not when I have no goal to go anywhere and get anything done. I just go out, I walk in the streets with this, or if I go out with my daughter, I'll take this out. If I'm going to a family event, you know, on my way to work, you know, stuff like that, I'll take this out. It's a real casual camera. It's really small. I think it's about as small as my iPhone. And this is the iPhone 6s Plus. And you could see they're about the same size. Of course, it's not as thin as an iPhone, but you get what I'm saying, you know? Go walk around with an iPhone like this, people are not going to look at you. You know? It's a good camera. So one more thing, a few more things I'd like to get into is the presentation. This is not an unboxing, but I would definitely like to point out that I like the way this came boxed, or the way they boxed it at Fuji. When I brought my 5D Mark III, I wasn't too impressed by the boxing. It's very sort of generic. Every box looks the same when it comes to Canon full frame cameras and Canon cameras overall. So it wasn't impressive. This, I liked it. It had sort of a Leica feel. It had a, let me get this out of here. It had a nice presentation. So this is the box that comes inside. It comes with two boxes. One is a box with like the manuals and all that stuff. Let's see if I can get it to focus. Okay. So it says Fujifilm and a gloss, and the box overall is about a matte black. It has this magnet open casing, and the inside is really nice. It has this nice padding. You know, it's good. It's a good representation of a camera company that takes their stuff serious, you know. And I've heard this a lot. People say Fujifilm, they make their cameras for photographers. Not saying that other companies don't, but I feel like other companies sort of produce them more commercially, and they don't, I don't know what the word might be, but it's just simpler, it's nicer, it's more of an elegant unboxing. So yeah, I mean, that's pretty much it. I'm definitely going to show some sample images. This is what the camera looks like without the lens hood. I prefer the lens hood, mainly because of the way it looks with it, and also because I guess it adds some sort of protection and might help from any stray light going into the lens if I'm shooting wide open or shooting near the sun. this one recommendation I do have, if you're thinking about getting an XPRO1 or even an X100, X100S, X100T, XPRO2, anything like that, is to get another battery, because the batteries on these cameras are not built the way the batteries are on, let's say, a Canon 5D or I don't know, a Nikon, whatever the Nikon would be, it's D700 or whatever. They're smaller batteries. It's about 1/3 the size of a 5D battery, or maybe half the size of a 5D battery. So you have to expect that it's not going to last as long as a 5D. And depending on how you use it, it might suck up more battery. So if you keep it on live view for the whole day, you expect it to die sooner. I usually keep it on electric viewfinder or even optical viewfinder. As far as focusing goes, I think the focus is fine. It's certainly not a DSLR focus. You're not going to get that continuous AF like on the 5Ds. But you don't really need continuous AF. There is a continuous AF option, but it's nothing compared to that of a 5D. But that is mainly for, you would need that mainly for if you're shooting sports or anything, any sort of fast moving action. I have shot movement with this and it's been fine. The focus is fine. It's fast, it's especially with this lens. This lens, I would say, is a lot better than the 35-1.4 when it comes to focusing speed. One other thing I would like to touch on is I do not shoot RAW with this camera, and that is crazy. I know you must be like, what? I shoot RAW on my 5D3. I've always shot RAW ever since I can remember. I mean, I probably shot JPEG for the first 6 months of getting into photography, and then once I started shooting RAW, I realized that is the way to go. But with this camera, I used to shoot JPEG plus RAW, and I would realize that it made no sense to shoot RAW because the images that were coming out of this were perfect. And at times where I was either underexposed a bit, I could fix it easily, or if I needed to fix a highlight or clean a blemish, or something simple, let's say I take a photograph and the highlights were blown, I could fix it without having to bring it into RAW. But most of the time this camera it's on point when it comes to shooting. I've never thought in my life I would say I shoot strictly JPEG, but on this camera I shoot strictly JPEG. And I shoot on this memory card. It's an i5 Mobi. What this basically does is it gives me a feature in this camera that cameras like an XPRO2 and a 6D and X100T have, which allow you to take photos and transfer them to your phone pretty much right away. And I love that feature because when I'm out, I love taking pictures, and it sucks with my 5D Mark III. I take a picture and I have to wait to get home. Then I have to export it, import it into Lightroom, edit it, save it, Dropbox it, or somehow get it on my phone. With this, take the photo, open the app, it's right on the phone, it's fast, it's reliable, and it's cheap. I paid about 20 bucks for this. This is 8 gig. There's some out there that are more advanced. I'm not gonna get into that. This is just my opinion on items you could part this camera with. I also have this Jupiter lens. It's a Jupiter 8, which is a 50mm f2. Now I'm not gonna get too deep into this lens. I would probably do another review on that. It's a fun lens. It's manual. It's very smooth. It's nice. It's good to use, but it doesn't get too much use for me because it's basically like an 80mm. I would prefer using a 50. Alright, so alright, so what else can I say? So I think that pretty much wraps up my opinion on the Fujifilm XPRO1. Now, it's my opinion. You might disagree, or you might agree. It's a good camera. It's good for street photography. I think it's perfect for street photography. It's perfect for candids. It's a camera that when I leave the house, I would prefer to grab this than to grab a 5D. And at times I've considered switching over systems from Canon to Fuji, just getting the XPRO2, getting rid of my 5D Mark III and getting rid of all my lenses and switching over completely. And it's still a thought in my mind. My main work when it comes to photography, my main line of work is portraits, engagement sessions, occasionally weddings, headshots. That's all stuff I could do with an XPRO1 and an XPRO2. So it's something that has crossed my mind. I have not made the switch, and I'm not sure if I'm going to do it, but it's definitely a possibility. But I'd like to know what are your opinions? Are you thinking of getting the XPRO1 or the XPRO2? You know, tell me below. Tell me in the comments, what do you think? Do you think I'm wrong? Do you think I should stick with a 5D system, or should I stick with both systems? I mean, what should I do? Is the 5D a bit overkill, or is it just ideal that professionals shoot on DSLRs and not these sort of hybrid rangefinder mirrorless cameras? I don't know. You give me your opinion. My opinion is what gets the job done. You know, the quality I get on these images are pretty much up there with the 5D. That's about all I have to say, and you know, you have a blessed day. Take care.